Hi, I'm Mindy.
Hey.
It was 1981, a beautiful sunny day in New York City, and I just signed my contract with American Ballet Theater 2. I did it! I was dancing since I was 7 years old and became professional at 17, and walking into the dressing room at 890 Broadway was a dream come true. It was everything I always wanted, and it was almost too good to be true. The previous 2 years I spent at the Pennsylvania Ballet School trying to get into Pennsylvania Ballet Company. It was my very first audition after I graduated high school, and out of hundreds of dancers, I was chosen. They invited me to come back for the summer program on scholarship where they would consider me for the company in the fall. I was so excited. I packed my bags and I went to Philadelphia. Every day of the summer course, I worked so hard. I wanted this very badly. When the director came into the studio on the last day of the summer program, I choked. I was nervous. And he chose my roommate for the apprenticeship instead. I was devastated, to say the least. I cried hysterically the whole way home on the bus, and it felt like the end of the world for me. They offered me to come back on scholarship for the year, and they would consider me for an apprenticeship next year. A whole year! I wanted to die. But I picked myself up and I moved to Philly. And my mom came with me and she helped me find an apartment. And guess who I had to live with? My roommate who got the apprenticeship and my other friend who got into the company. So I did get the apprenticeship the following year, but then after that, the director did not take me into the company. He said, "This is a stepping stone for you, and you need to go somewhere else." Crushed again, tears, disappointment, at the same time thinking, I'll show you. I didn't know what I was going to do, and then I heard that American Ballet Theater 2 was having auditions. So I went to New York and I auditioned among hundreds of dancers, and I was chosen to be in a 2-week workshop where they would decide if they would take me in the company. I worked my ass off. I wanted this more than anything. And I pushed beyond all my limitations, all my self-consciousness, and I performed every moment for 2 weeks. And then I was offered a contract. And not only that, I was casted first cast in every ballet. Oh my God, this was unbelievable. I was so happy. I went back to Philly to get my things, and I decided to take company class with Pennsylvania Ballet while I was there. The director heard about me getting into ABT2, and he watched me dance and said, "You dance beautifully. That's the way I wanted to see you dance." So I happily went back to New York feeling incredibly victorious. The first day back at lunchtime, I went into the office and I signed my contract. Wow, that felt so good. I went outside to get some lunch and I joyfully crossed over 19th and Broadway by ABC carpet with a bounce in my step. The next thing I knew, I felt something crashing over my head and I saw blood splattered over me. At first, I thought someone was behind me, hitting me over the head with something. But later, I realized it was a huge pane of glass that fell out of a 3rd floor of a building, fell flat on my head and broke in half and severed my nerves and tendons in my right hand. Mind you, my head didn't even have a bump or a scratch. The glass was so thick and so big. If you've ever been in New York City downtown in those buildings, the windows are huge. It's a miracle my head wasn't cracked open. If I was just a little further forward or a little further back or to the side, I would have died. I was rushed in an ambulance and later had to have micro hand surgery. I missed the first 3 months of my new company. How in the world could this happen to me? By the time I was healed and ready to come back to work, I was replaced in all the ballets, and I was now second cast. My self-esteem was crushed, and I could not get my groove back. Day after day, I was in the back of the studio learning the steps to be in second cast. No matter how hard I worked, I couldn't regain my position. When it came time for Baryshnikov, who was the director of ABT at the time, to pick dancers for the company, I was not seen. I didn't have a chance anymore to get into ABT, and it changed the course of my life. I suffered over this for so many years to come. My unworthiness misinterpreted it and only saw this as a failure. I couldn't accept or understand why this had happened to me. It wasn't until much later in my life that I realized and saw that God had a different path for me. I ended up traveling all over the world and danced with major ballet companies in the United States and Europe, and I toured internationally. I met many people who touched my life, and I touched theirs, and led me on a spiritual path. I see now that I missed something very important. All this time, I was thinking that I failed. I wasn't seeing that I did make it into ABT2. I signed the contract, and they chose me to be first cast in everything. I was good enough, and I did fulfill my dream. God made it a point to show me that. It just took me so long to acknowledge it. And I'm very grateful that my journey has made me who I am today. Thank you.